Hello, and welcome to Basically Biology, a series of videos where we will explore on all things biology, but keep it #basic. Ever wondered why you can't answer those excruciating explain questions? Or what are the key details required for such a question? Well then, dear students, you have come to the right place. For in this video, we will learn about answering such questions using the claim, evidence, and reasoning method. This particular visible thinking routine will help you explain scientific phenomena and those explain questions you will encounter in worksheets and exams. Let's break down the visible thinking routine. First up, it's claim. This is what you hypothesize or posit about the scientific phenomena. It could also be a trend, especially when looking at data or graphs. This is backed up by evidence. This can come in three forms: qualitative data, which is data that is observed; quantitative data, which is data that is recorded in numerals; or data quoted from graphs or tables. This is underpinned by reasoning, which is the use of scientific theory and concepts to explain and account for the evidence and claim. This then proves the claim that we have made originally. Now, let's put our theory into practice. Let's try to answer a question using qualitative data. This question was featured in the 2017 Secondary 3 Biology End of Year paper. This question requires a student to state and explain one feature of this cell that indicates that it is a secretory cell. In this case, the claim is given in the question. It is a secretory cell. Now, using the picture provided, we are able to get evidence that there are a large number of vesicles present around the transphase of the Golgi apparatus. The reasoning behind this is that the vesicles formed from the transphase of the Golgi apparatus have a secretory function. Now, dear listeners, it's your turn to try. Pause the video here and try out the question by using a different pair of evidence and reasoning. Now, welcome back. Let's see if we've gotten it right. Another evidence you can see is that there is a large number of mitochondria present. Now, the reason is this is required to release a large amount of energy, which is required by the cell to perform a secretory function. Let's move on to the next type of question. Now, listeners, feel free to pause the video at any time to try the question as a whole or before the revelation of each part of the answer. This question features quantitative data. Seeing this picture and the given data, we can make a claim that particle Y has undergone diffusion. In this case, the evidence is presented in the question. At the beginning of the experiment, the right-hand side had 8 molecules, whilst the left-hand side had 2 molecules. At the end of the experiment, there were an equal number of molecules at both sides. This has happened because there was a higher concentration of particle Y on the right-hand side as compared to the left-hand side. Thus, there is a net movement of particle Y from the right-hand side to the left-hand side until equilibrium is achieved. Now we have come to graphs, and this is where things get a little sketchy. In this question, we are presented with a graph of volume of oxygen produced against pH. We have to use the graph to explain the effect of pH on the activity of catalase. Catalase is an enzyme used in this experiment to break down hydrogen peroxide into water and oxygen gas. The amount of oxygen gas produced per unit time is being used to measure the activity of catalase. Now, before we lose the plot, let's recap the 3 aspects we need to answer the question. To make our claim, we will describe the change in the graph or the trend in the graph. Our evidence can be taken from the data taken from the described points or intervals of the graph. Our reasoning requires us to use the theories that we have learnt. Now, dear listeners, you can pause this video here or at any of the next 3 slides and try the question out before the revelation of the answers. When working with a graph, what we need to do first is to dissect the graph into portions whenever the gradient changes significantly. In this case, we have 3 portions. The first portion is the increase. The second portion is the apex of the graph, especially since this graph portrays an enzyme catalase reaction. The last portion is the decrease. Considering our claim, evidence and reasoning, this is how we do it. As the pH increases from 2.0 to 4.0, catalase activity is increasing as the volume of oxygen produced increases from 12 cm3 to 88 cm3. This is because the pH has increasingly less effect on the bonds holding the shape of the active site in many enzymes. Thus, this is increasingly less altered. At pH 4, catalase has the greatest activity as the volume of oxygen produced is the highest at 88 cm3. This is because it is the optimum pH of catalase. The chemical bonds holding the active site of catalase are not affected at this pH. As the pH increases from 4.0 to 6.0, catalase activity decreases as the volume of oxygen produced decreases from 88 cm3 to 8 cm3. This is because the pH has an increasing effect on the chemical bonds holding the active site of the enzyme. The active site in many enzymes is increasingly altered, leading to their denaturation and loss of function. As much as using CER is important, the way we use our language is perhaps equally important. Things to avoid include simply stating biological facts, because stating facts does not show the link between the claim, evidence, and reasoning. What should be done instead is to write statements to show cause and effect, because these statements will show the links which are crucial. Using connectors such as because, therefore, hence, thus, and many others. Congratulations! Now you too will be able to explain like a pro. And that's the end of our video. See you on the next video of Basically Biology. Remember to keep it #basic.